What is going on, everybody? I'm your average gamer, and today we're going to talk about some of the more advanced tips when it comes to God of War Ragnarok. I've done so many different challenges in this game, one of them being the level 1 burden challenge, so I'm definitely the go-to when it comes to figuring out how to play the game. Now, I did a top 10 yesterday, but this one's going to be a lot more in depth. It's hard to explain to a newer player or somebody that's not that good at the game what I'm doing and how I'm doing it without it being an hour-long video. But coming in at number 10, it's just like how it was yesterday. Number 10, holding R1 to juggle enemies with the Blades of Chaos. Now, I'm going to show you two great ways to do this effectively, and both of them are a little bit different, but you can pick your poison. So the first one is you can either sprint. Okay, if you're sprinting and then you press and hold R1, you will do this move right here. Okay, and then or you could just do the forward dash and press and hold R1, and that will give you the exact same effect. The only thing you have to learn to do is just dodge. Just dodge out of an attack like I just did right there and continue the combination. So I'm going to launch him up, I'm going to sprint, hold R1, and then I'm going to dodge again, and I'm going to forward dash into him and hold R1. Same effect to continue the R1 chain. Super, super useful. Now, coming at number 9, I think we all know this, right? You inflict way more stun damage if you hit them in the back. Now, the reason that this is massive is because I'm going to talk about that in 1 second. No spoilers. Now, just hitting an enemy in the back is of course going to increase your stun damage, but it's knowing how to do it. On the smaller enemies, just a perfect precision throw will turn them around. You can use any weapon to inflict stun damage, but in my opinion, the blades fill it up so much faster. This works against literally any enemy in the game, so if you're hitting an enemy in the back, I kind of recommend using the chaotic rampage, so the hold R1 with the blades, and you're going to do a lot of stun damage. Now, the reason that this is so big is because if you have your immolation charge full with your blades, your L1 triangle, you activate it, you get the execution, you get a substantial amount of rage compared to if you just were to execute them normally. So I don't have my L1 triangle for my blades filled up. The circle is red, or the R3 is red, meaning that I'm able to get the execution off. And as you can see, I do not get the same amount of rage. Now, coming in at number 8, this is something that I feel like a lot of us learned back in the 2018 God of War, but that is to freeze enemies. The L2, R2 is really important to freeze enemies. There are other ways to freeze them, whether it's runic attacks, or you can do the Frost Awaken. That works great as well. But to make an enemy stop hitting you is huge. In my opinion, one of the hardest things about this game is being overwhelmed. As soon as there's more than one enemy and they're chaining attacks together, sometimes, there's not so much that you can do. So you have to be a little bit strategic in knowing who you want to fight. Number 7, triangle timing. I didn't realize that this was a huge problem a lot of people were having, but just knowing when to press triangle, whether it's with your blades or with your axe, majority of the time it's going to be with the blades, and as you can see right here, it doesn't matter the move you do, you will be able to do it. There is a way to tell when you're able to activate it. In my opinion, it's a lot easier to see with the axe, so that's what I'm going to show you, but it works just as well with the blades. But when it comes to the axe, again with your blades too, the minute you get your feet set, so when I put my left foot forward and I go back to the default stance, that's when you're able to do it. And then again, what makes the axe so simple is when you put the axe behind you, that's when you're able to switch stances and do all those combinations as well. Coming in at number 6, I've used this tip as many times as I can. Use your rage correctly or effectively. I see a lot of people just using it to get some damage, but there are so many different ways that it can help you. Now, when it comes to Wrath, I use it to gain either my L1 triangle a little bit faster to interrupt an enemy, or maybe just to finish an enemy off and get some HP. Those are primarily the 3 reasons that I use it for, but to interrupt an enemy when he's about to attack you is huge. Now right here, he's about to get super armor, and not even runic attacks can interrupt an enemy when they have super armor on, and that is what makes Wrath so great, because as he's about to hit me, I activate it, he gets, staggered, and I'm able to finish him off. Now I did use all my rages, but that's entirely okay. Now, even though I think Wrath is the best rage in the game, Fury definitely has its purpose, as I use it here to maintain my skill gauge. So I activate the rage, I'm going to cancel it, and the skill gauge is going to be exactly where I left off. Now, with the right perks and stuff and whatever you want, you can make the Fury rage last forever, meaning that you can activate it and deactivate it whenever you want. Now, if you're not careful with Wrath, you will take damage and you will end up losing your skill gauge, but if you time it just fine, you will interrupt the enemies. Kind of like Fury, but again, Fury, you're able to activate and deactivate it so much more. At number 5, make great use of runic attacks. Again, Don't just use them as a damage multiplier, Get a status effect on them. I can't express how important that is. If you're playing the base game, I recommend using the Vanaheim amulets because it's going to increase your melee damage based off of status affliction. If you get the sigil arrows, the purple arrows, you're going to put so much status affliction on them with just 1 or 2 moves. Your melee damage will be increased permanently at some point. Now, runic attacks are also great at interrupting enemies. This is huge, okay? The only time you're not allowed to interrupt an enemy is if they have super armor on, is when they're glowing. If you look up by the health bar, it'll be shining a little bit. You can't really use runic attacks as effectively, but if an enemy is about to hit you with a red attack and they're not glowing, you can use any type of runic attack to interrupt them. Number 4, use absolutely everything the game gives you. I know this is like a super cheesy tip, but this is what is going to make you better. Sit there and just experiment, find different combos, find your own fluidity. If you see something that somebody does and you like it, don't necessarily steal their playstyle, but steal that move and incorporate it into your own thing. That's one reason I actually enjoy my channel, is because I combine skill with game knowledge. So I'll figure stuff out. I'll put my own twist on things. I'll see something that somebody does. I'm like, okay, I kind of need that to add that to my arsenal. And then I take everything that I know and just figure it out. So when you do the level 1 burden challenge, you're going to be forced to become better mechanically, which is, as soon as you do that, you're going to be substantially better. But at the same time, just knowing what moves have great effects. Just as simple as knowing that the Wrath Rage was able to put you in a different stance. You'll see that here in a second. So I'm going to activate my Rage, and then I immediately press triangle afterwards, and I get the Flame Whiplash immediately activated. That is huge, okay? Because that is, again, one of the biggest damage numbers out there. At number 3, get good timing. Just get good. That's literally what I was just talking about. If you're going to do the level 1 burden challenge, you're going to be forced to just get good. And there's nothing I can do or anybody can do that's just going to make you better at this. You just have to do it. I would lie if I said I was just naturally good at this, okay? When I first started to play this game, there were certain delayed attacks or whatever it was that would throw me off. Like, I would see a yellow ring or a yellow attack, and I would immediately block, and then it would hit my block, and I would get staggered, and I was forced to rage. So I had to learn to calm my mind. Kratos is not kidding when he says that. You have to just remain calm. The more you do something, the more memory or muscle memory you build up, the easier it is to recognize and react in that moment. This next tip is easier to explain than it is to actually do, and that is to work on your combo finishers. So combo finishers have the ability to interrupt your enemies, and that is huge. But just even understanding where you're at in your melee chain can change everything. For example, I know there are people trying to figure out how I just did what I did. So this is something I showed off in a combo video before. It's like 2 minutes long, and that's when I figured it out for myself. So when I do the R2 slam, I realize where I am in the combo chain. You can dodge, okay, and continue your combination. So I dodge, I do the chaotic rampage, I wait for the spin, and then as soon as I spin off of the chaotic rampage, you can dodge out of that. You press R2 at a perfect time, and you can do that slam. Now that is a more advanced combo, but again, super useful. Here I am doing a lot of damage, interrupting him, and still continuing on with the combo, okay? So like, these are things that you're gonna pick up as you're playing the game, but you can keep it so much simpler. Spam R1 4 times with the axe. I like to start my combination with the axe with R2, so I do R2, R2, R1, R2 most of the time, or you can do R2, R1, R1, R2. Again, just figure it out. When it comes to the blades, I literally always do the forward dash R1, right? Then I press R1 again, R2, R1, R2. That is like my go-to combination, and I can't sit there and tell you that's how you guys need to play the game, because it's not true. That's just how I like to play the game. I've done it so much at this point that it's beyond muscle memory, okay? If you go back and watch a lot of my videos, you'll literally see what I'm doing now. And like I explained to my friend, it's different when you're watching somebody do it compared to you actually understanding what they're doing. Now, at number 1, I can't express how many times I've seen this, man. People just think R1's the only button to attack with. Now, I've watched a lot of God of War videos, because if I see a video have way more views than mine, I'm curious to what they're doing, because I want to get those views. I push myself in these videos every single day, no matter the game I'm playing, in order to get my viewer count up, right? So when I see somebody with a 50,000, 100,000 view video for God of War, I'm watching it. And when I do, majority of the time, they're playing exactly like how I'm playing right now. R2 does not exist. It's only R1. And that's something that you're going to have to work on. Now, a little bonus tip is you can cancel out of some runic attacks. Now, what I mean by cancel is, I mean literally just dodge out of it. Tame the Beast, Heiji's Retribution, you can do a lot of the cancels with the blades, but you can't cancel out of any of the other ones unless you start doing the runic attack cancels. But I promise you, those are the things that just people like to do because they enjoy playing that way mechanically. Does it have an effect in the game? It can, but it's just learning all of that to have that little added bonus is definitely just not worth it. Anyway, that's going to do it for my tips. I really hope that you enjoyed. Like, comment, sub would of course mean the world. Your boy out here trying to hit 1,000. Help me out. Come on. As always, I love y'all. Hope you guys stay smooth. Peace.